took what I could get. She looked at me with big brown eyes and said, "You ain't seen nothing yet. Baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet. Here's something that you never gonna forget. Baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet. Nothing yet. You ain't been around." That's what they told me. And now I'm feeling better, 'cause I found out for sure. She took me to a doctor, and he told me I'm a cure. He said that any love is good love. So I took what I could get. Yes, I took what I could get. And then she looked at me with them big brown eyes and said, "You ain't seen nothing yet. Baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet. Here's something you're never gonna forget, baby. You know, you just ain't seen nothing yet. You need to educate. Gotta go to school." Any love is good loving. So I took what I could get. Yes, I took what I could get. And then she looked at me with them big brown eyes and said, "You ain't seen nothing yet. Baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet. Here's some love you never forget, baby. Baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't been around. You ain't seen nothing yet." That's what she told me. She said I needed education. Go to school. I know I ain't seen nothing yet. I know I ain't seen nothing yet. You got some way for me when I get home. Better be good. I just everywhere. But I ain't seen nothing yet. I just ain't seen nothing yet.
Oh, almost forgot to unmute myself there. Hello out there. We're on the air. How do we like that? That was BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive, legendary Canadian band. And we had Arnie here, but he must have buggered off. Oh, well, his loss. I guess he just wanted to hear the song. Anyways, good morning. Some might even say great morning. Let me get this shared here quickly before we go any further. Okay, we got X done. Oh, look at that poll. Polymarket, Trump leading 66.3%. 66% of people in Polymarkets are betting on Trump. I'm surprised that's not higher, honestly. It's crazy that 33% of people think that the least intelligent person on the planet has a chance to win the presidency of the United States of America. That's where we are today, folks. That's where we're sitting at. Okay, can someone help me with this? Because I'm in trouble here a little bit. My bookmarks disappeared. Not my bookmarks. My bookmarks have disappeared from my browser. What am I using here even? Brave. I don't know where they went. I don't know how to get them back. Can someone please let me know? I feel naked without my bookmarks. Anyways, Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. It is Tuesday, October the 29th, 2024. We are currently sitting at block height now. We're going to save that for now. Hold on. What am I doing? I'm way out of sync right now. The music really messed me up. We had to sacrifice the 34 cents that we were going to make on this video from YouTube to play that video. So you're welcome. Hey, what was I doing here? I don't even know. Anyways. What was I doing there? Okay. Well, this is the Daily Bitcoin Journey. This is a show that focuses on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. What a beautiful day. It's pitch dark here still. You can tell by my lighting on my face. I have one of these ring lights here, but I don't have enough USB ports. So we're going to be dark here for a while. It's going to only get darker. But you can see the comment here up on the screen. Miss V FUD, can't wait for 100K Canadian today. This will be the first day that's ever happened, if it happens, October 29, 2024. So Miss V FUD is the winner of today's 88 sats. So if you don't mind, or if you want, you can put your Bitcoin Lightning address, your URL, in the chat, and we'll send you some sats. But to everybody else, I see Sunshine's over in the Zap stream. Sunshine! The pump is going to make people's brains explode. I agree. And Van Dam Dave says this bull run will melt faces. How many comments have you seen in the last little while saying that the bull run's over, the Bitcoin bull run's over, because we hit all-time high back in March? People just don't get it. I think that we even overestimate the amount of people who understand Bitcoin. It's not very high. Okay, we don't have a Lightning URL in here yet. Maybe Miss V FUD has left the building. Duncan, good morning. I'll be listening on my headphones today at work. Smash the like button. That's a good idea. While we're here, while we're young, while we're hot. We got the Utah State fan. Bitcoin is ripping. Bodie said play the song by BTO. Bachman Turner Overdrive was played. And great minds think alike, as he says. Great minds think similar. Close enough. Ian, good morning. We're not ready for what's coming. I agree with that. I don't think anybody's ready for what's coming. Even Bitcoiners. When you start to block out the noise and actually look at the numbers, it's pretty crazy what's about to happen here in the world. Arnie, or not Arnie, I just heard Arnie hit the floor. Arthur, good morning. Timber Crasher, good morning, Bitcoiners. It's a good day to be reflecting on our decision to exit the inflationary fiat clown world. Cheers to that. That's what really this show is about. The thing that we've been saying pretty much since day one here, and I think we've stuck pretty true to that, is that we're focused on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for the people coming, the future Bitcoiners. But at the end of the day, the point of this channel, the point of the community, Living the Future, is to help people exit the fiat clown world. That's it. I mean, we say a lot of things. We look at a bunch of different things, and we take a lot of sidetracks. But our direction here is to exit the fiat world. And I know from experience that you can't just exit and hope for the best. You have to have things ready. You have to be prepared for it, both mentally and physically. So that's what we're doing. That's kind of the whole point of this show, is to exit the fiat world. And Bitcoin is where that road leads to, because there's really nothing else. That's what you kind of have to keep in mind, is that there's only one option here, and that the fiat world is collapsing, and there's only one off-ramp, which is to Bitcoin. That's the only thing that makes sense. So logically speaking, that's where we're headed, and that's what this channel is all about. Jason, good morning, my friend. Waro, TikTok, next block. Good afternoon, all. Good morning, Waro. Good to see you, my friend. Jason, oh my God, I love this song. You know what I was thinking this morning as I was getting ready for our Bachman Turner Overdrive? I think we're going to start doing Tunes Day. So every Tuesday, I'm going to sacrifice my 35 cents from YouTube, and we're going to play a song every Tuesday, different one. So I don't know how, maybe you'll have to zap or something to get a request. I don't know, something like that. I'll probably pick the first couple to get the ball rolling. But Are You Ready is probably my favorite AC/DC song. And I think it's the most underrated one, the most slept on one. Everybody knows Lightning Struck, or not Lightning Struck, Thunderstruck, Hell's Bells, Back in Black, Highway to Hell. But Are You Ready, I think, is the best one, in my opinion. Lightning Struck. Be a good name for a Bitcoin company. Van Dam Dave says, the only way you wake up from the matrix is when you fully understand Bitcoin. I think the first step there, though, Van Dam Dave, is that you have to understand that you're in the matrix. Most people out there just go through life and don't even understand that they're plugged into the matrix. So I think you have to get to that point of like self-awareness and just awareness in general, knowing that you are in the matrix. And then you understand that, and then your mind opens up, and then you start looking for alternatives. And Bitcoin is the big orange, shiny, very shiny light. Very shiny light. Cold Deck with an E. Good morning. Good to see you. I haven't seen Cold Deck in here for a while. Or maybe just not in the live chat anyways. Rick, let's see how we're doing. Our daily reminder from Rick. We got 34 people in here. We got 22 likes. That's pretty shitty. Sorry, we got 37 people in here now and 24 likes. Pretty shitty. Timber Crasher, I'm so glad to be part of this community. This is cool. Thanks for being a bunch of cool people. Thanks, Jor, for bringing together this community. Yeah, that's about all you can thank me for, because it's the people within the community, both, on the live chat, on Zapstream, and in Living the Future. But I'm the person bringing them together. Everything else is kind of out of my hands. I want to help be part of a few things. And we have some really cool ventures actually happening in Living in the Future community. And I think that that's going to ramp up. My vision of the future is like, we're here now. We're going to have the future purchasing power, the capital, and the influence it's going to be able to create a whole bunch of cool things. I like that you used cool there a couple times, because that's what it is. It's cool stuff and needed stuff and stuff that most people aren't paying attention to yet. And I think that if you can approach this very methodically and slowly and take the right steps, then you're gonna do very well. Let's just say that. And I think we've only scratched the surface in terms of living the future and the things that are happening over there. It's very exciting to me. Jay, I'm late, all caps. That's okay. We're still here. I see Daniel over in the Zap stream has zapped 552 sats. That's a new amount. Thank you, Daniel. Can always count on our buddy Daniel for one of the first zaps of the day. Yesterday we had 8,000 sats. Not a record, but it was a good day. Today we are what's this one today? What's the stream? Oh, helping make it Tuesdays a little bit better. Yeah, that's a good one. That's what the zaps are going to today. Bodie, I think he's echoing Timber Crashers there. Miss V Fudd says, was multitasking and then thought to myself, why am I still listening to this song? That's good stuff. Song making fun of his stuttering friend. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I like stories and I like learning things like that about songs. Another part of songs that, as a kid or when you used to hear songs and you kind of made up your own lyrics to them. And then later in life, when you actually stop and think about it, or you look at the lyrics of the song and they're totally different than what you've been singing for the last 20 years. That's also pretty fun. Oh yeah, let's get to some metrics here. We'll put the comments aside for a second because the people want to hear about Bitcoin. And that's what we're going to do. Block height today, 867,930. Very cheap fees today on the Bitcoin blockchain. Very low amount of transactions as well. But 2 sats per VByte. So not a whole lot of demand for the block space this morning. Foundry won the last 2 blocks, worth about 3.1 Bitcoin, $223,000 US, and $225,000 US. So Foundry in the last 3 minutes got 6.5 Bitcoin for their troubles. We are still way ahead. We're 70 blocks ahead right now. Very, very strong indication of the Bitcoin network right now. It's looking like we're going to have an upwards adjustment of 7.16%. That's what we're on pace for right now, 70 blocks ahead. And which means that the hash rate must be buzzing. Let's check it out while we're here. Yeah, it is. We're at an all-time high once again, folks. Last week, we hit an all-time high of 795 exahash per second. And today, we're at 798 exahash per second. That was yesterday, actually. So, but I don't know how up-to-date this is because that's as far as you can go here. So that's 798 exahash per second is the all-time high hash rate. And hash rate is basically just the amount of electricity going into the Bitcoin network. That's it. People plug in their miners, whether it's this one's not adding much to the exahash per second, but it's still contributing. And but every time somebody plugs in, the hash rate goes up. Every time somebody unplugs, the hash rate goes down. So it's a very good indication of the Bitcoin network, much more than the price in fiat, in my opinion. So we're at an all-time high right now, and we're sniffing at an all-time high in the fiat price as well. So let's look at that. See the metrics today. Man, I was on fire again today, 2 mornings in a row. I wrote another blog this morning. I like the blogs. And I would, if you're somebody who's been considering, I mean, it might not be a make or break for people, but if you want something to read for 2 or 3 minutes in the morning about Bitcoin and get your mind right, get you thinking a little bit, then the Living the Future community, I'm going to be posting it's called the Daily Bitcoin Journal, written. So I've been writing for about half an hour every morning. I'm going to keep doing it just on different things. It's going to be current events. It's going to be Bitcoin security stuff, key management, things I've learned. And I think it'll be a really good way for people because it's easy to show up every day to the show, jump in and out of the chat, jump in and out of the video. You might miss some things. But I think if you have something on paper that you can refer back to or save or whatever you want to do with it, I think it's going to be very useful for people. And it really helps me, because it helps turn my mind on in the morning. That's one thing I've noticed. We had a really good show yesterday. And I think it's easy to kind of wake up, look at the phone, just get back into the whole zombie mentality. But for me, if I'm, writing and my brain's working, then once I press the record button here, we're good to go. So consider that. It's a daily blog. And I think that people charge a lot more for just a blog than what we're charging for that. But you get a lot more with that as well. So something to consider. The block height today, 867,924. The fees are low, 4 sats per VByte at the time of writing this. I don't know why 71. Nice shouldn't be there. That was from yesterday, 69. 71,452 US dollars at the time of this. What are we at now? About the same. 2023, this time last year, half the price, 34,535 USD, which means one thing: Bitcoin is up 100% in the last 365 days, and still Most people are completely ignorant to what's going on here. 100% return. Pretty good. Then you look back 2020, 4 years ago, the last time we went through the halving, October, 13,438. So keep in mind here, looking back to 2020, the last time we did I shouldn't say we did, last time there was a halving, the price was 5,000. So May 2020 went from 5,000 to 13,000 about 6 months later or less. And then if you fast forward to the next year, January, February, March, that's when it went up to 65 or 60, whatever it was, 69,000. So that's kind of what we're going to go through here in the next 5 months. Is the last time it went from 13 to 65, and right now we're at 71, and who knows what it's going to get to. That's why the show is called You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. Dun, dun. But baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet. All right, Moscow time, $1 will get you 1,405 Satoshis today. If you want to be Moscow rich, you got to get 1 million sats, and that's going to cost you $712 today. And the price here in Canada, we're nipping. We're very close. We might be close to an all-time high in Canada today, or we might have already passed it. But 98,816 Canadian dollars for one Bitcoin. The Moose Jaw time here in Canada, $1 Canadian, 1 loonie, will get you 1,011 sats, the lowest we've ever had, which would suggest an all-time high in Canada, but I haven't seen anything official yet. But that's the lowest we've had on the metrics before. 1,011 sats, the deal of a lifetime. And if you want to be Moose Jaw rich here in Canada, you got to get 1 million sats, and that's going to cost you just under $1,000. And probably by the time you go to exchange it, it's going to be $1,000. So hopefully there's some Moscow rich and some Moose Jaw rich people in here. I'm guessing there is. It'd be really interesting. I know we'll never find this out, and people are going to accuse me of being a Fed probably for saying this, but it'd be really interesting to know what the average Bitcoin holdings would be in this group, in this community. I don't even know where I would start to guess. I would probably think that the average would be 30 million sats. That's my guess. Maybe more, maybe 40 million sats. I think that there's probably people with, 10, 20,000, 20 million sats, sorry. And I think there's probably some sneaky Bitcoin, soon to be millionaires out there with a couple or several Bitcoin in their pocket. Actually, I know that for a fact. So it might even be higher than that. It might be about 50 million sats, the average here. Either way, I mean, you're doing pretty good. Thiago, good morning. Hello, fellow Bitcoiners. Anton. Good morning. Okay, here we go. Destructive says, right click on where the bookmark should be and tick show bookmark bar. That's how you do it on Chrome. I know, that's what I tried doing. It's not working. It's not working. Somebody else is going to have to help. Destructive, I appreciate it. But no dice. Rick's Remakes. Morning, lads. I used to love it when Bitcoin went up. These days, all I think is, damn, I get paid in the week. I wanted to buy it cheaper. That's what you got to keep in mind here. I know it's very exciting. I know I feel it myself. But the only thing, unless you plan on selling your Bitcoin in the near future, the only thing that matters, or the only thing that this means, is that when you go to exchange your fake fiat for real Bitcoin, you get less real Bitcoin. It's a hard realization. And whether you're earning fiat or Bitcoin, that amount that you're earning is going to be less than what you got before. You're going to get less Bitcoin than you got before. So it's different if you're trying to, sell some of it, if you have some book earmarked for something, but I don't know. Waka waka. We got Phoenix Falconer over in the Zap stream, and I'm low on sats. I got to bump this up. Top it up, I mean. All right. I wonder how much sats I've paid to Zapstream. There's got to be a Hall of Fame in there for Zapstream. I got to be at the top. Maybe not. I know that there's... I don't know, though. I don't know. Nick into it. Good morning. Cheers to you. Oh, I got to sneeze. One of my all-time favorite... Hey, somebody said do a poll. Destructive said do a poll. I didn't know you could do polls. I don't know how you do it on here. I saw somebody do it on YouTube yesterday, though. Anyways, we're gonna have to say that for another time. Cheers, Nick into it. James Bond. Welcome. Hello, good friends of the realm. Ryan Brown, good morning. Retro Beaver says, just ordered a beautiful Bitcoin or a beautiful watch from Coin Vigilante using Bitcoin. I've seen those watches. They're actually really nice. And I like the concept behind it. I think he's making them all limited supply with, there's a couple different unique features within those. I think there's a Bitcoin watch though. Pretty nice. If I was going to spend some sats, I think a watch might be one of those things. Did you guys notice? I was going to, after watching that BTO video, did you guys see that guy? Hold on. I can't do it without my bookmarks here. This is tough. I'm going to bring up this video just quickly again because, oh, where are we? This is what I looked like last night when I was trimming my beard. I looked exactly like this fella. Same hair, same beard, a little less crazy looking, but I shaved. I'm a little bit lighter and faster today. So that was me last night, BTO guy. Forget his name. If anybody knows the lead singer of that, well, it's got to be Bachman, right? Bachman. I don't know. Somebody in the chat will know. There we go. Nick into it says, I just sent my first sats with Strike. That was actually pretty cool. Nick into it, if you're still in the chat here, let me ask you this question. If you think Lightning's cool, have you ever sent a Bitcoin transaction before, like an actual one where you set the fee, you look at the mempool, you follow it? Have you ever done that before? Because sending Lightning's cool and everything, but wait till you send a Bitcoin transaction. That's a life-changing experience, I think, truly. Matt FRL in brackets, inter cabal squabble. That's a new one. Okay, what Randy, thank you. Plunger said Randy Bachman, that's correct. Elric. No, not Elric, I don't think. Unless it's Erlich Bachman, maybe his real name. I don't know. Okay, let's get to some news here. We got to stop plucking around so much. I don't know. Some days I get a little bit too lost in the chat. Okay, we got a couple things to look at this morning. A couple pieces of news. What was I going to say, though? There's a couple things I wanted to mention. Maybe this will refresh my memory. Okay, as we wait for this email to show up, Arthur says, I'd be good to have the nickname Arnie. It is a good name. Arnie's quite the fella. You guys should see. I wish I could have a live cam on Arnie and Lucky. Man, they're funny together. They're pretty good buds. Where was this? Okay, well, let's start with this one. I titled the show today, and the Daily Bitcoin Journal today was about 1% allocation for public companies. So maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But let's look at the Charles Schwab report and how they're ranking MicroStrategy right now. So this is from Bitcoin News. It says, just last week, Charles Schwab gave MicroStrategy the worst possible equity ranking of F. Meanwhile, fast forward a week, MicroStrategy is up nearly 20% in the last 5 trading days. So you can see that Charles Schwab gave them an F, strongly underperform. 91 to 100 strongly underperforming, and they're telling people to sell it. So not surprising there. I haven't seen too many of these. I love the comments. Good stuff there. Grading Bitcoin plays is beyond Schwab's circle of competence. I agree with that. If you don't really understand MicroStrategy, it's pretty hard to put a grade on it. But should we look at MicroStrategy? Nah, I don't really want to turn this into a MicroStrategy show. This is about Bitcoin. This is about leaving the fiat system, and MicroStrategy is still in the fiat system. So we're going to talk about it a little bit, but I don't want this to ever turn into a MicroStrategy show. I was actually watching, and this I posted about this last night, but I was watching I think they're called the Quant Bros, the MicroStrategy guys who have been all over YouTube lately. It seems like they're attracting the whole degen crowd. And I was trying to watch it last night, but like one of the guys was sitting there with like his hood up and sunglasses on, like doing a podcast. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, take your sunglasses off. You're inside. It gave me really like altcoin, like meme coin, Roaring Kitty. That's the kind of vibe I got from them. And they're just like what do they call them? The Bitcoin Moon Boys. That's kind of what it reminded me of, like a very high time preference. And maybe they're not. Maybe that's not their message. That's just what the vibe I was getting from them. So I really don't want this to turn into a MicroStrategy show. But at the same time, I do have a little bit of money in the markets just from mostly for tax purposes. So I'll tell you guys kind of my strategy here that I've been using for the last little while. And I'm not going to say this isn't financial advice because it's been working out pretty well for me. But what I've been doing is I take a portion. I haven't sold into my Bitcoin, but I take a cash portion. I have a monthly withdrawal that comes out of my account, goes into my trading account, into my TFSA, which here in Canada stands for tax-free savings account. So any income, any gains that you have within that account, it's a registered account, but any gains that you have inside of that vehicle, the TFSA, you don't have to pay any tax on. So kind of the strategy that I've been going with is like 80% goes into Bitcoin when I have it, 20% goes into the market. And I'm building that account up with Bitcoin. It's all Bitcoin related companies. So that's kind of my longer term, 80% Bitcoin. I never want to sell. I want to keep that forever. That's here for the next 10 generations. And the other part though, I want to actually cash them in and, go on a trip or pay off some debt or whatever that is. And I'm going to be able to easily take that out of the market, tax-free, into my bank account and pay for whatever I have earmarked for that. So the account, even though there's not a whole lot in there, is up like $3,000 in the last couple of weeks. Pretty significant. Tax-free too, which is about $4,000 net. That's what you'd have to get paid, $4,000 to get the same kind of net amount there. So very simple strategy. Just buy companies who are holding Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, Tesla, Semler Scientific, Core Scientific, and I think I had one more. Oh, I bought some Bitcoin Well shares too, just for shits and gigs. They're like 5 cents each. So pretty good couple weeks in the markets, and it's a very simple strategy. Just buy companies that hold Bitcoin. That's it. Although I shouldn't say that, because there are a couple questionable companies who are holding, including one from Canada. I think it's called, I forget what they are. Anyways, DeFi. I think it's DeFi Technologies in Canada. Sunshine says, when you're inside, wear moon glasses. I will be releasing them soon. Primal says you can use Bitcoin as tax-free, just don't report it. Yeah, but that's where I, even if I wasn't paying tax on, let's say that I had a stack of Bitcoin that was non-KYC, it's still much harder to do that way, even though you could do it. Like, you could find somebody to buy it. You could send it to an exchange like Bitcoin Well, where you can do the ATM. You can do it, or you have to buy something with it, but it just seems like more difficult to do. And I hate selling Bitcoin. I hate it. So it's different. Like, for me, I see it on a, looking at my Bitcoin balance versus my stock account, or whatever the hell it is. Like, I have no issues selling a share in MicroStrategy. It's no skin off my back, but I have a very hard time selling Bitcoin. So that's why, I've gotten into some trouble with that before, a little bit in the past, with just not wanting to part with Bitcoin. But I agree. You can use Bitcoin as tax-free and not report it, but it's harder to do, and I don't like doing it as much. So Daniel says we have HSA in the US. That's a good place to invest in MicroStrategy. What's HSA? I'm guessing that's something similar to the TFSA. Same H savings account. Health? No, not health. I don't know. Daniel will know. So that's that. And speaking of MicroStrategy, let's look at a couple more things. This is an interview with Saylor. I don't know when this is from, but he's the same kind of strategy for companies, for people, the same kind of thing. It is. I think we're going to look back one day and just be totally blown away with what Saylor has managed to do. So we're going to watch this. I'll share some numbers that I came up with for my daily Bitcoin journal this morning, and then we'll keep going.
They normally just use bonds, and bonds are credit. They're crumbling, and their capital structure is crumbling. It's like you built a building in a swamp. You don't see buildings stand for 1,000 years built on a swamp. You have to actually have a firm foundation. An example of that is my company. So my company had that $600 million of cash that was generating 0% interest, and our stock was dead money. Nobody wanted to buy it, and then we were like worth $120 a share. We actually converted to a Bitcoin standard, and we started buying Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin kept going up in price. And in 44 months, our company went from a $600 million enterprise value to a $25 billion enterprise value. And they normally just use bonds. And
so they went from a $600 million market cap, to, he said 25 billion there. This was an old interview. I think they're closer to 50 now, 50 billion, by going on a Bitcoin standard. That's it. They didn't release any new products. They didn't hire a bunch of people. They didn't spend a whole bunch on marketing to try and get new customers. Nothing. They just bought Bitcoin, and they've become incredibly successful with that strategy. So they're holding 250,000 Bitcoin. So let me bring up some of the numbers that I got. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this because, again, we don't need this to become a micro strategy. This is just more about Bitcoin itself, actually, though, and it has to do with public companies who are going to be buying Bitcoin, and that's why I called this "You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet," because nobody's really here. Nobody's really in Bitcoin yet, other than MicroStrategy. So let's look at, I'm just going to bring this up quickly here, the math. I don't want to make sure I get it right. So I asked Claude, our faithful assistant, last night, how much the top 100 public companies have in their treasury reserves. So Claude said that he doesn't have any up-to-date information, but as of August 2023, about a year ago, the top 100 public companies had about 50 billion. I think it was 54 billion in treasuries. And treasuries are made up of cash, short-term securities like GICs, guaranteed securities. GICs maybe not, but something similar to that. Very, very liquid. And government bonds and corporate bonds. That's what makes up these corporate treasuries. So $54 billion worth. And yesterday we talked about the fact that Microsoft said that companies should have at least a 1% allocation to Bitcoin. So that 1% of 54 billion would be 5 billion, which would get the top 100 companies 70,000 Bitcoin between 100 companies. 71,000 between the top 100 if they all put 1% in at today's rate. So keep in mind that if this happened, it's probably going to go a little bit higher and they'll get less than that. So if the top 100 companies, public companies, put 1% of Bitcoin or their treasury into Bitcoin, they would end up with 70,000 Bitcoin. MicroStrategy has 250,000 Bitcoin themselves. So that's what we're kind of seeing right now. We've seen MicroStrategy come from like the 1,000th ranked to like the 500th ranked to the 200. And I think they're already inside the 200. And once they get the top spot there, they're never letting go of that. Nobody's ever going to be able to catch MicroStrategy. And if you understand the importance of that, if you believe that Bitcoin is going to be the next world reserve currency or the measuring stick for every asset on earth, think about how much that's going to be worth as a premium. That's why we're seeing this happen right now. And everybody's confused about it because they don't understand what's happening here. They just think that it's kind of a bubble, but it's not even close to where it should be yet because we haven't even gone through this bull run yet. Imagine 250,000 Bitcoin doubled if the price went from 70 to 150 in the next year, which most people would say is a very conservative guess. The equity in that company is going to be pretty high. The market cap is going to be very high at that company. So you also have to consume that as more and more filings come out saying that, you know, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Nvidia, GameStop, these are all companies adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. Think about what retail is going to think about that. Think about what the institution, the pension funds, the state pension funds, every fund is going to think when all these companies, all these top 100 companies are adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. The price is going to go up. They're going to get less of them. And then at that point, you know, that's going to take a while. I would say a couple cycles probably till all these public companies realize that they need to have some allocation. They get 1%. But then what happens when Apple comes out and announces that they're going 10%? Do you think Microsoft and Meta are just going to sit there and let that happen? Or are they going to try to get 10% themselves? And this is just corporations we're talking about here. So to me, this is kind of my summary on it. I said, number one, no one's going to catch MicroStrategy. Number two, hold on. This thing disappeared on me here. Got to make sure I'm giving you the right info here. Okay, where's the full post? All right. So number two, the corporate game theory alone here, setting aside the retail, setting aside the institutions, setting aside the countries who are going to be buying and mining Bitcoin, the corporate game theory alone is going to send the fiat price of Bitcoin into the stratosphere. And number three, this is going to take a few cycles to play out. And we know what happens every Bitcoin cycle. It gets harder and harder to stack Bitcoin. So, and then at the end I said, and then you factor the other 30 million corporations in the world. So we're just talking about the top 100 here in the world, but there are 30 million other corporations who will be adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. And there's 30 million corporations. There's 21 million Bitcoin. There's about 2 million Bitcoin available on the exchanges right now. and which will be less than that. Like when you look at this stuff very objectively with just math, very simple economics, you just objectively look at this, you understand that $70,000 US is a rounding error. And so, I mean, for us as retail investors, what does that mean for us? It's like, well, yeah, you're going to be buying, you bought some at 50, you probably bought some at 60, you're going to buy some at 70. Don't, mess around too much trying to maximize what price you're buying at. Just fucking buy some. Because again, $70,000 is going to be a rounding error, not only in a couple of years, like in 10 years, but in a couple of years from now. So don't worry what price you're getting at. If you're here now and you're buying Bitcoin right now, you're so far ahead of everybody. You're front running Apple, Microsoft, Meta, and Nvidia, and every country on earth. You're front running everybody when you're buying Bitcoin right now. So it's exciting. It's very, very exciting to be a part of this whole thing. Oh, Daniel said that was the tax-free health savings account. Okay, well, I was right. You can link a brokerage account to it and invest. It's actually triple tax advantage, by far the best way to invest in the fiat markets. So that is the tax-free health savings account. Interesting. I don't know what the health part of that is. We have a tax-free savings account, but no health. Primal says, I don't agree with the premise of never selling Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is going to grow, we have to use it. Yeah, that's not really what I'm saying, though, because to me, there's a difference between spending Bitcoin and selling Bitcoin. Like if I wanted to buy something and I took my cold card out, I put the pin in, I saved the transaction, I signed it, sent it. That's me selling Bitcoin. The Bitcoin that I have in cold storage, that's my savings account, my retirement fund, my multi-generational wealth fund. If I sell that, that's selling it to me. But if I'm spending it, that's a much different thing. Whether I just have some Bitcoin on a Lightning wallet that I buy a shirt with, or some honey with, or what were we talking about? A watch with. Like, to me, that's fine. We need to be doing that. But when you're actually taking your long-term stack of Bitcoin and you're selling that for fiat, that's not what I ever want to do. And I do agree with you. We need people using it if we want people to adopt it. We want businesses to be accepting it. So the other thing for me is like, if I know that I need to buy something and that business accepts Bitcoin, what I could also do is just take fiat, buy Bitcoin, spend the Bitcoin. So you're just replenishing it. You're not actually selling any of your Bitcoin. That's kind of what I'm saying. And maybe I didn't really clarify that as well as I should have, but I agree with you. To me, there's a difference between selling Bitcoin and spending Bitcoin. Daniel says you can use it without selling it. I zap on nostr and I'm willing to pay for things with Bitcoin. Selling though, not so much. Exactly. That's my point. There is a difference there. So let's, what else did we have here? Okay, well, this is we had this breaking news yesterday on the show, and I don't think a lot of people's minds, including my own. So on the show yesterday, somebody said that the UAE, Argentina, and Ethiopia are mining Bitcoin with government resources. So let's watch this video. This is from our buddy Joe on CNBC.
Yeah, it's a non-US asset. It's an emerging markets asset. And while we were all hyperventilating about the election over the last week, BRICS had a conference in Russia. There's 6 new members of BRICS this year. So BRICS GDP is now greater than the combined GDP of G7. Of the 6 new members, 3 of them, Argentina, the UAE, and Ethiopia, are now mining Bitcoin with government resources. So there is tremendous urgency outside of the US to find a way to circumvent the irresponsible fiscal policy that we've been running here in the US. In fact, Russia announced an initiative. Their sovereign wealth fund is going to invest in a regional initiative to build Bitcoin mining and AI infrastructure throughout BRICS with an idea of settling global trade in Bitcoin. So look, someday, I don't know if it's 5 years, 10 years, Putin's going to die. We're going to look to reintegrate some of these countries into the world financial system, and they're going to be trading with Bitcoin. What are we going to be doing?
Okay.
Well, let me answer that for you, whatever your name is. I was going to say something, but we'll hold back. Let me answer that. Before we go any further, I can help him answer that question. What is the U.S. going to be doing when Argentina, UAE, and Ethiopia, 3 of the 6, and Russia? We talked about the corporations, the game theory involved there. Microsoft, Apple, Tesla. We talked about the corporation, the corporate game theory. But what about the countries? So he asked, what's the U.S. going to be doing when Russia, Ethiopia, UAE, and Argentina are mining Bitcoin, when the BRICS is going all in on Bitcoin? Let's see what the U.S. is going to be doing here. Anybody recognize this guy? Actually, yeah, we'll go ahead.
Have hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars exposure to Bitcoin. And it will be billions. Have hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars exposure to Bitcoin. And it will be billions. Have hundreds.
Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's zoom out a little bit here. I'll bring it back up. Anybody know who that is? That is Howard Lutnick, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, and also the man co-running the Trump-Vance transition team. We talked about the transition team yesterday. We talked about the fact that in the past, every U.S. president up until 2024, pretty much every part of their transition team, every department head within those governments, the administrations, were basically, what did he call them? They were basically extorted into putting them into positions. Donors, corporate donors, basically got to choose who was in government. So if somebody donated $10 million and said, this is who I want as the Treasury Secretary, this is who is going to be the Treasury Secretary. And that's what happened back in 2016 in Trump's first term. But yesterday we talked about the fact that Trump's new administration here, he's going a different route. It's all privately funded. He's been working on this for 3 months. They said they had 20 people part of the transition team already. This guy, Howard Lutnick, is co-running the transition team. So we have him, who owns millions and millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. We have RFK. We have Elon Musk. We have Tulsi Gabbard. And who else was on there? Somebody else. But anyways, that's their transition team. Vivek, including the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, a big Bitcoiner. So what do you think is going to happen here? I mean, from those people there, we've heard Elon talk about Bitcoin, and who's the other guy? Thomas Massey, I think, is in there as well. Like what a squad. We've seen Elon, we've seen Vivek, we've seen this guy who owns millions of dollars of Bitcoin right now. These are people part of Trump's transition team. JD Vance is a Bitcoiner. What do you think is going to happen here? Trump was at the Bitcoin conference a couple months ago saying they're going to put Bitcoin on their strategic stockpile, national stockpile of Bitcoin. He met with miners, Riot, and CleanSpark. Like, it's not, you don't have to think too hard about what's going to happen here. So we are in the middle of nations adopting Bitcoin, the game theory playing out here from country to country. We're in the middle of it right now. And nobody's going to come out and tell you, like, summarize this whole thing into a list of 10 things. This is what's happening. You just have to be paying attention to different stuff. So Howard Lutnick, remember that name. And the first comment here, it says, let's see who else owns Bitcoin on Trump's team. Vance, Vivek, Musk, RFK Jr. The administration might be friendly towards the Bitcoin. I don't know what else to tell you here. That's it. Goodbye. Goodbye, Bitcoin. All right. Well, I want to say a couple things here. First of all, shout out to the people on Zapstream. We got 13 people over there. We got some zaps. We got Phoenix Falconer zapped to 121. We got My Path to Fire zapped to 100. And over on YouTube, should give YouTube some credit, even though I wish you were over on Zapstream. But we got 38 people in here, and we got 39 likes. So we're over 100%. That's fucking awesome. So shout out to you. What's next here? Do we have anything else? No. That's it. Let's catch up on some comments. That's everything I wanted to talk about in terms of the news for today, which, I mean, quite a bit. $152,000, top of the morning to you, my friend. Okay, Grim Insanity. Let's do some questions / comments here. We got a lot, it looks like. All right. Grim Insanity says, been keeping up with the vids, just been losing time to watch the stream. That's okay. It's okay. You said cold storage is better. I thought Ledger Wallet was the safest. No. Ledger Wallet would probably be the least safest. I mean, when you're talking about cold storage, when you're talking about like the most secure Bitcoin wallet out there, I don't think it's one. I mean, I love the cold card myself. I've been pretty true to that. I think since we started the channel here, it's what I've been using. It's what I use today. But a couple of things you have to keep in mind with cold storage wallet. It doesn't really matter what it is. I would suggest like Cold Card, Jade, or the Passport. Those are kind of the top three. But you want to make sure that if you have a cold wallet, you want to make sure that you're not plugging it into the laptop. That's kind of like the first step. It's like one of those flow charts. Does it plug into a laptop? If the answer to that is yes, you should strongly consider getting something else. And the scary thing about that for me is like, let's say you are somebody who's had a ledger for the last 5 years and you've stacked a bunch of Bitcoin on there. Let's say you have 1 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoin, whatever that is, you're keeping it on your ledger and it's still there. Every day you log in, you plug it into your laptop, it's still there. And you keep feeding it. Every week you got a DCA, every month you got an amount that you buy, you add it to that wallet. Let's say that somewhere along the way, that ledger, that connection was compromised. And you don't even know it, because you have to think about it like this. The person who's looking at that wallet, who has your private key, you keep feeding that wallet every month consistently. You've done it for the last 5 years. Every month you send more Bitcoin to that wallet. Do you think that a hacker, I mean, if you got 1 Bitcoin, they're probably taking it off there. So you use some common sense here. But for the most part, like if somebody knew your private key and they could see your wallet and you just kept feeding it every month, do you think that they would just sweep it and then you'd know that it's gone and you'd be sending it to a different wallet and then their gravy train would end? Maybe, but they might not. They might just leave it. So you could be out there right now with a ledger or a Trezor or anything that connects to a laptop, and you could be feeding it and you could see it there every day. You can move it, but somebody else is looking at it too, and you have no idea that person's looking at it. I mean, unless you're very technically skilled, which I'm not, then you might know the ins and outs of it. I don't myself. That's just kind of my gut feeling telling me that. So anyways, it's not a very expensive thing to do. You have to invest a little bit. Let's say it costs you, I would ballpark for $500 or $600 between buying a device and having somebody help you with it, or taking your own time. And you have to consider that as an investment as well. Your time's not free, but I would suggest getting somebody there that can hold your hand through it and make sure that you're not missing anything. Make sure you can send the transactions back and forth. Make sure you have the process down, and it's worth it. Like it's kind of priceless almost. I said it was going to be $500 or $600, but it's truly priceless. To be here is one thing. To buy Bitcoin is one thing, but to actually have that Bitcoin in 50 years from now, that's a heck of a challenge. and you have to have the right foundation off the start. Otherwise, as Sailor said there, very similar, you're building it on a swamp. And it's not going to be around in 1,000 years or 50 years, never mind 1,000 years. So that's what I would say. If you are somebody, and if you heard me say that and something turned in your stomach and thought, you know what, maybe my Bitcoin isn't as safe as I want it to be, then reach out. We actually got 8 people that we're going to be working with here for the upcoming year for the bull run. Very knowledgeable people. And they're going to be able to help you with whatever. We don't really sell any products. We don't push people into products, but you decide for yourself, and we just kind of sit there and walk you through it to make sure that everything's good. Believe it or not, when I first got into crypto, it was, believe it or not, but I actually paid $500 a year for a private membership to a Patreon, just so I could learn how to do it myself. I had to watch the videos myself. I had to pay $500 US. I had to watch the videos myself. Whereas this is like a fraction of that. And you actually have another human, very trusted human, if you've been here for a while, on the other side of that. So that's what I would say. Do some research though, because it's like I said, it's priceless. It's something that you don't want to look back on 50 years from now and say, instead of spending a couple $100 and I would have had 50 million sats, my whole family's life would have changed. I procrastinated and I fucked up. You don't want to be there. What else we got here? Oh, Rob, speaking of that, speaking of cold cards, Rob chatted with Rob last week. He ordered a cold card. He got everything he needed from that. That's one thing I don't love about cold card is that they don't have any actual packages of like, okay, this is the cold storage package. This is what you need. The device, the cord, the SD, the steel plate, the punch. Whereas Passport sends it all together for you. So, holy, I'm way behind here. These comments are from half an hour ago. Sorry, everybody. Dale's in the chat this morning. Randy Bachman, that is correct. Good Regina guy. I knew he'd know that. Would you ever let someone work on fix your laptop? I don't think so. Not if you're holding Bitcoin on it or Bitcoin wallets or anything to do with Bitcoin. Again, like just consider the costs here. Consider it an investment in your security, because you have to remember that as a Bitcoiner taking self-custody of your Bitcoin, that's a lot of responsibility. You are your own bank now. So think about all the security protocols, everything, the procedures that the banks go through to make sure that the money's secure in there. You have to do the same thing for your Bitcoin. So this isn't something that you just buy and you watch the price for a while. Like you have to do a lot of work to figure out how you're going to have that Bitcoin in 50 years from now. Truly. So I wouldn't say get someone to fix it. I would say just get a new laptop. But I mean, if you're using like a cold card or something that doesn't actually hook into the laptop, then it's not a big of a deal. The one thing I will say on that though, sorry, I'm kind of bouncing everywhere here, but that's, you get what you pay for. But the one thing I would say on that is like with laptops, with phones, the one thing I wouldn't be doing right now is getting rid of them. And the one thing I would be doing right now is buying them. Because these devices, whether it's a phone, an old laptop, an old iPad, you're going to be able to use these devices to connect to a bunch of different things into the future. And I think that these are going to be very scarce. We're going to get to it's weird. I just have this very weird feeling of how things are going to play out here. And I think that some of the most, laptops, phones are going to be very scarce. Because if you kind of go backwards, you work backwards, like the silver involved. Silver's been running up. Silver's going to become very expensive. And it's silver that powers all these devices. I mean, it's a very small amount in a phone and a laptop, but it is required to produce a new device. And then you start factoring in tariffs. All of these devices come from China, from Taiwan, from wherever else. And if you're going to be paying big tariffs on them, I think that the demand or the production is going to fall. The supply is going to fall. The demand is going to be very high. And you're going to be able to do things on these laptops and phones that most people are completely unaware of right now. So that's the other thing that I would say on that is don't trade in your phone. Like I've 3 or 4 phones here just because I've been thinking this way for the last 5 years. But don't sell your laptops. Don't sell any devices. Just hold on to them. Keep them up to date. Keep them secure. And you're going to be putting them to use right now or in the future. Sorry. Rick Remake said, did you see that CNBC interview with Matthew Siegel? Who's Matthew Siegel? Is that the guy that we just watched? Siegel. Steven Seagal. Whatever happened to Steven Seagal? Is he still kicking? Oh, it is. That was him. That's the guy we just watched on the interview. So he is the head of digital assets research at VanEck. He actually was on another interview. It might have been the same one, but it's a different clip. And he was predicting that by the end of 2050, Bitcoin's price would be 3 million per coin. And I thought, why so bearish? 2050, 3 million? I would be disappointed if one Bitcoin was only worth 3 million in 25 years from now. Why so bearish, Matthew? Okay, Destructive says, to make a poll, click on the button, the one that looks like a chart next to the smiley face to the right of the chat entry box. I'm doing this through StreamYard though. Uh-oh. Okay, I can't be messing around with this on the feed. Present slides. No, I don't know how to do that. We're not going to try to do it live. I do like the idea of polls, though. Maybe I can do it on YouTube. Fuck it. Brian says, Bitcoin at 70K is still a steal if you're in it for the long term. DCA helped me in my journey. Yep, great advice. And ignore the FUD, buy consistently. I would say, yeah, 70K is a rounding error. If you're here now, don't worry about like trying to wait a week for it to go down to 65. Just fucking buy it. You know, like we're going to look back in 10 years from now. And do you think you're going to remember if you bought it at 60K, 65K, 70K, 200K? No. Just buy and buy and buy. Oh, this is interesting. Retro Beaver says, I have both a cold card and a Blockstream Jade wallet. I use my Jade mostly. Interesting. Jason says, Randy Bachman was also a key member of the Guess Who. That is absolutely true. And they are from Manitoba. Forgot about that. BTO Bachman's from Winnipeg, I believe. Buck 52,000 says, all the old finance bankers don't understand traditional trading rules, or who understand trading rules don't apply to the markets today. Yeah, I agree with that. They're playing in a different league pretty much, right? And actually going back to that, there was a comment yesterday. And it's kind of bothered me. It kind of set me on a little spin. See if I can find it. By the way, there's been a lot of comments on this channel lately. Like double the usual. Okay, so this is a perfect example of people who don't really know what they're talking about at all, including Charles Schwab, the team at Charles Schwab. Clearly they were out to lunch. But this is what people say when they don't really know what's going on. Okay, so this is the full conversation here, and we're past an hour now. This is the part of the show where we kind of get a little bit squirrely. But The guy or girl said, how is Bitcoin different than any fiat currency? They are all created out of nothing. If you think Bitcoin is special, then how come there are numerous digital currencies? Economics has a concept called substitution. One can always substitute an orange for an apple if apples are too costly. The same is true for all fiat currencies. They lack scarcity. I'm stacking food, water, ammo, and durable goods, far more reliable. They will always at least keep pace with inflation. Why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. That was his name's MAFP. Anyways, I lost the comment here. Oh no, here it is. So then I said a couple things. I said, you answered your own question. Bitcoin is scarce. They cannot print Bitcoin. And he said, the point I was trying to make was that they can make unlimited Bitcoin substitutes. Bitcoin's price can be artificially reduced by Bitcoin alternative currencies. The principle of substitution is an economic concept. This is what made me think of this comment, because these people are still playing in the old system, in the old economics, how things used to work in the fiat standard. The principle of substitution is an economic concept. The price of apples can be lowered because of their competition with oranges. Low-priced oranges can keep the price of apples lower than they otherwise would be. Anyways, so continue on with the apple and oranges. And then he says, in the case of Bitcoin, there is no limit on the number of essentially equivalent digital currencies that can be created out of nothing. And that's where I got a little bit mad. I said, I don't mean to be rude here, but you've clearly spent 0 hours on the proof of work / network aspect of Bitcoin. Bitcoin cannot be replicated at this point, and it's only going to get harder as the network grows larger. You have to think differently than apples and oranges. This is more like apples and a nuclear bomb. That's the point I'm trying to make here. It's so much different than anything that we've ever known before. And the people who, even if they have a really good understanding of the old system, are so far out to lunch with what Bitcoin is. And then I said, I probably shouldn't have said this, but I said, and instead of spending your time commenting on YouTube videos, you should be using that time to study proof of work protocol and why Bitcoin is not another currency created out of thin air. So that's the big misconception, I think, with a lot of people, is that they just see cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and all these other ones, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Wolfcoin, whatever they are, they're all the same when they're not. They're not. And if somebody wanted to replicate Bitcoin at this point, they would need billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, probably trillions at this point, to recreate the hash power and the network effect of Bitcoin. So good luck with that one. That's the one thing I did want to say was that interview with Pomp and Cantor, not Larry Fitzgerald. I don't know his name, Cantor Fitzgerald. On Pomp, one of our good buddies here in the community. I don't know if he's watching tonight or not. I think he's probably sleeping in Australia. But Sats Venture, Joey from Sats Venture, he did an interview with Pomp last week. So his first interview was with me on the channel, and then he just fast forwarded to Pomp for his second interview. So it was a good second episode. I think it was about half an hour long. They talked about more business stuff than Bitcoin, but pretty interesting watch. So if you got some time today, make sure you go check out Sats Venture on YouTube. He's one of our buddies here, and he had Pomp on for his second guest on his channel. So he might be moving. He's moving pretty quick, but go check that out and make sure you subscribe to his channel, because we got to support each other. We got to support fellow Bitcoiners who are spreading the good word of Bitcoin. All right, Spaceman in the chat. Good morning, Zap 69 Sats. Thank you, my friend. Okay, what else do we got here? 21 Spiel Sats, one of our favorite commenters on YouTube, made it to a live show. welcome. I don't know if you're still here or not, but welcome. Oh, I forgot about Block. Yes, that's right. Damn. I got to get me some Block. Why don't I own Block? I don't even have paper in here anymore that I could write on. Oh, well. Block. That's a good call. That's Dorsey's company. And Block is the biggest Bitcoin holder after MicroStrategy. Damn. That's what I'm going to be doing today. Buying some Block. Cold Deck says, are you buying U.S. companies in your TFSA with Canadian dollars or USD? Canadian dollars. It does the translation, though. It does the conversion for me on there. But you can always buy with Canadian dollars, even if it's a U.S. company. Mara and Riot. I would not mess around with those companies. I don't, other than Core Scientific, because I bought the shares like 3 years ago. I don't buy any Bitcoin mining companies. It's a nightmare of a business. Brian says, this train will really start moving once my guy Trump makes a Bitcoin reserve asset. Yes. You are absolutely right. The Trump pump is coming. The Trump pump is coming. Buck 52,000 says, my only concern is that Saylor is trying to centralize Bitcoin. I think you need to, this is just my thoughts on it, but I think you need to rethink how you, why do you think that that's possible? How do you think that Saylor would centralize Bitcoin? He has 1% of Bitcoin, yes, but we know that the blockchain isn't voted on by the amount of Bitcoin owned. It's by the amount of nodes in the network. And there's about 20,000 nodes out there who have a vote in terms of where the Bitcoin network goes to. But the other part of that too is you have to understand the difference between somebody like Saylor, even if he does come out with a Bitcoin bank, you have to understand the difference between Saylor and the Federal Reserve. The key difference there, even though they're both going to be banks, and Bitcoin was created to get rid of the central banks, but you have to understand the fact that the main difference there is that one party has the ability to print money and one doesn't. So the Federal Reserve, for the last 100 years, they had never been audited. They're not federal. They have no reserves. Everybody owes them a bunch of money, and they have the ability to print money. And when you give somebody the ability to print money, everything goes to shit, which is what we're living through right now. So that's the difference between the Federal Reserve, a very centralized and licensed to print money, versus somebody like Saylor, who does not have that ability. He can't print Bitcoin. He can't print money to buy Bitcoin. All of the Bitcoin that Saylor has accrued personally and within MicroStrategy, he has earned through proof of work, either buying it with fiat that he's earned in his corporation by selling products and services to the market. He's earned that. He's converted to Bitcoin. He didn't print any of that. Nobody gave him any of that. The proof of work was done there. So that's the difference. Because when you don't have the ability to print Bitcoin or print money, it changes everything. So even if Saylor got to 10% of Bitcoin, which he never will, but even if he did, it doesn't matter. You can't centralize Bitcoin. So it's just, I think that's a very common misunderstanding as well for a lot of people. Exactly. The network is global and decentralized. I did see this yesterday. I didn't watch the whole thing, but Jason says, check out Adam O'Brien's YouTube channel. They dropped a video about MicroStrategy and the risk going forward. Charlie Dubb says, I bet Microsoft is already buying. I don't know. I don't think that they are, because they're a public company and you have to do things by the book, because you have shareholders to answer to. So if they just went behind their shareholders' backs and started buying Bitcoin in Microsoft, I think that they would be in a lot of trouble. So they might be doing it in a roundabout way through holding companies or something like that, or agreements with miners, but there's no way that Microsoft themselves is actually holding Bitcoin right now. They might have even locked in a price for Bitcoin or something like that, but there's no way that they're actually holding or buying Bitcoin. Exactly. Not so easy for huge institutions just to buy Bitcoin because the shareholders. Oh, we got 100K Bitcoin? All right, let's see this. Let's see this. Okay, so I see 99. I don't see it on mine. I saw it got to 90. Right now it's at 99,500. Oh, 99,608. In Canada. Damn. So as the Bitcoin price rises, I expect the zaps on nostr to dry up, and I expect the sats on Zapstream to dry up. So kind of shitty. I hope it goes down. I hope it goes back down. Utah State fan says, does anyone have experience with the heat bit? No, but it does look pretty badass. The one other alternative. So the heat bit, for anybody who doesn't know, is basically just it's a Bitcoin miner inside of a portable unit. So the Bitcoin miner shoots off heat. The heat bit converts it into, I think it's either hot or cold air, but I'm pretty sure it's mostly hot. And so you can use it like a space heater. So you're mining Bitcoin. The settings are cranked way down on it so that it's not very loud and it's not pumping out max heat. So it's in this little box, and you can instead of just paying for a space heater and paying for the energy costs, you actually get subsidized with Bitcoin mining. So you can hook it up to a pool and you can get sats back every month for using a space heater. And I've been looking at some different things. I've been talking to one of the guys within the Living in the Future community here. He's looking at, without saying too much, or, I don't think that there's a whole lot of people rushing to do this right now, but he's a plumber, and he's going to be looking at outfitting houses instead of with furnaces with Bitcoin miners. And some of it's going to be like immersion, like cooling inside of water to reduce the noise. But I can see in 5 or 10 years from now, especially Canadians, everybody's going to be mining Bitcoin in their house, not to try to hit a reward or just for the sats, but actually to heat their house. Because why would you pay for a furnace when that's just a completely sunk cost? You're paying the electricity, you're getting nothing back other than heat. Whereas with a miner, you hook that up, it pumps off heat, but you're subsidizing yourself with Bitcoin rewards. It just makes sense, right? AD, good morning. Charlie says, I'm buying Bitcoin all the way to $1 equals 300 sats. Why not $1 equals 1 sat, or $1 equals half a sat? You're going to be buying Bitcoin forever, my friend. That's where we're going. Okay, what else we got here? Got to put this comment up there for sure. Holy, okay, we're not going to be able to get through all these. Somebody commented yesterday saying that YouTube keeps blocking their views and shadow banning them and removing subscribers for talking about Trump stuff. So what I decided to do yesterday was double down. I called a video, Trump is going to win the election. So see what happens. The nice thing about, we've been here for about a year now, or just a little less, but I think we've weeded out all the people who have Trump derangement syndrome from the chats here and the viewers. Yeah, this is kind of what we're talking about with the transition team. The Rogan Trump interview is enlightening. Trump said he didn't really know what he was doing the first time around, but he's dialed in this time. You also have to keep in mind that Trump as a new kind of candidate there. I mean, I think that there's more involved here than what we know, but just kind of surface level stuff here. Trump had a lot of donors, and those donors all wanted certain people in place. So he didn't have a whole lot of say in who his transition team was. He was just, Hillary Clinton had a 95% chance to win the election the week before. So I don't think Trump spent a whole lot of time figuring out who he's going to put into place. I'm guessing he didn't think he was going to win. But anyways, this time around, it's all privately funded. They have 20 people in place, including Elon, RFK, Vivek, Tulsi. Who was that guy? The guy who owns millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin? Cantor Fitzgerald. That's a great name too. No, sorry, that's the firm. His name's Howard Lutnick. Yeah, I mean, this is what you gotta look forward to here. Every free dollar I can afford and is needed to be saved will be converted into sats forever. Why would you hold fake money when you can hold real money? And there will probably come a time where you can no longer exchange fake money for real money. We might not be that far away from that either. To be clear. All right, there's some chat going on between people. I don't have to go through all these, thankfully. Yeah, exactly. Arthur says people in Germany, Weimar Republic, didn't think money would become cheaper than toilet paper in their lifetime, but it's possible. And I think probably in the next couple of years, we're going to see the fiat dollar, the petrodollar, the Federal Reserve notes that we use now become useless. That doesn't mean the U.S. is going to collapse, because what I think is going to happen, and I've been saying this for almost every show the last couple of weeks, I think Trump's going to cut off the Fed, which he's wanted to do since day one. I think he's going to roll that into the U.S. Treasury. They're going to create a new U.S. dollar that's backed by energy, backed by Bitcoin, by gold, by oil, by all that. Because who is the Federal Reserve? What are they going to fight the U.S. military? 10 fucking weirdos sitting around a table printing money? Good luck with that. I mean, there are bigger powers at stake here, but I think that the U.S. military is a much stronger force than the Federal Reserve banks. And it wasn't always the case, but it is now for sure. So imagine the U.S. dollar backed by Bitcoin. So the U.S. dollar as we know it today will become cheaper than toilet paper, but the U.S. dollar and the U.S. economy won't. I think that they'll go a different route. So Charlie Dub says, thanks for all your content and vids, bro. Appreciate you. Appreciate you showing up, because the show would be pretty shitty if people didn't show up. Fourth turning. We're in it. Big changes are coming. Yeah, we're in the middle of this thing right now. Okay, what's Dale say here? Dale says, more Bitcoin is lost by the user in poor private key storage than an insecure hardware wallet. Trust me on that one. That's a great point. And Dale has QuickBit in Regina, Saskatchewan, and he sells hardware devices. He sells passports, jades, I think cold cards too. But he's, I'm sure he's been around. He's seen some shit. And that's a really good point. And, you know, I put a lot of emphasis on, because I just assume that most people are going to do things properly. And that's definitely not the case. So Dale says more Bitcoin is lost by user and poor key management than an insecure hardware wallet. So, I mean, just taking a step back from that, it's like, okay, well, let's say you have a ledger, but you're very good with your key management. You've gone through your routine 100 times. You're probably going to be more secure than somebody who has a cold card, sets up a PIN, does it once, doesn't think about it for 2 years, and then has to go back and try to remember what they did 2 years later. So yes, completely agree with that. I'm just going under the assumption that all things equal, everybody has the same kind of key management, but we know that that's not the case. But I think you have to have like a flat baseline to compare things to. But I absolutely agree with what Dale's saying. And I've seen it firsthand myself too. I've helped people with a cold card with a bunch of Bitcoin, and they didn't manage their keys properly and they lost the Bitcoin. So it can be done on a cold card, on a jade, on a passport. It's more so about the user, but just you have to have a baseline when you're comparing the devices. Randy Bachman met and married his first wife in Regina in the early 70s. Full of history in this community here. All right. What else we got here? MicroStrategy is my backup Bitcoin strategy. What do you mean by that? Backup Bitcoin strategy? Okay, well, let's start. We're an hour and a half here. What can we say for ourselves? I don't know. Let's just say thanks to everybody for being here. Thanks for the zaps today. Hope you enjoyed the Bachman Turner Overdrive theme show today. It cost us all of our ad revenue on YouTube today, all 50 cents of it. But Spiel Sat Siege says Steven Seagal is in Russia now and a huge Putin buddy lives in Russia, I guess. Huh, interesting. This is something we're all going to go through, I think, in the next little while. Brendan says, after taking Bitcoin to normie bros for 3 years and being laughed at, this year's test will be not dunking on them. Yeah, I mean, you have to set that in your mind, though, before this all happens. You have to. And I'd say a couple things on that. Like, just have zero expectations of anybody. And if you are somebody who kind of went out of your way to try to tell people about that and you got laughed at or mocked, it is kind of annoying. I've been there before too. But I also know that the people who did listen to me are very thankful that they did. And so there's good and bad of everything. The other thing there too is that most of them still won't get into Bitcoin for the next until it hits 100K US probably. And then still people will be dragging their feet. So just don't expect anybody to ever apologize for anything to you or, and go back and say, I wish I would have listened to you. Just don't ever expect it because it's never going to happen. And if it does, bonus. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to change theirs. It's just your expectations of people. So, I mean, don't be dunking on people. We don't need that. I think that the one thing that we can do is just help people when they need to. And I know it's hard to do, especially after you've been telling them for a while, but be the bigger man or woman. Yeah, I saw that Alan Greenspan was talking about Bitcoin the other day too. Brian says, Alan Greenspan, ex-Fed chairman, once stated in an interview that the U.S. can pay off any debt because we can always print more money. Greatest Bitcoin ad ever. I saw also that he was talking about Bitcoin last week, though, in a positive light. Mike Pence. Yeah, fuck Mike Pence. Trump needs to get the U.S. military back. So this is my opinion on it, and this is not based on anything. But if you look at Trump's been saying a lot of things the last couple of years. But I think that the U.S. military has always had Trump's back, even in Biden's term. There's been rumors that Biden actually doesn't have the nuclear codes, that either the military or Trump has them. If you looked at this is just an example of connecting dots and paying attention to things. But if you look at when Trump went to the football game in the U.S., it was like, I think it's Army versus Navy. I think that's the game they do every year. If you look at the reception that Trump received when he went to that game, I think it was back in 2020 before he got voted out. I'm pretty sure, and Trump literally rebuilt the whole U.S. military. He created Space Force, and Space Force is a big part of Bitcoin. Like there's a whole bunch of these dots that you have to connect. It takes some time. It takes some energy, and then some, open-mindedness. But I don't think that Trump needs to worry about the U.S. military. And Trump, one other thing that he always says is that there's the generals in real life and there's the generals on TV, which means that, to me, he said this several times, but to me that suggests that there's something going on there for a show, for the TV, for a drama, for waking people up purposes. And then there's real people behind the scenes who are the ones actually in charge, making the decisions and in control of what actually happens, including the nuclear codes. Right? So something to consider there. I'm kind of losing my voice here. All right. Mr. Dig Deeper says, my only regret is I didn't stack more in 2021 because I was still going down the rabbit hole. And That's the one thing I would say to anybody out there who might be watching this is like a new Bitcoiner or a future Bitcoiner is don't wait. Don't think that you need to figure out Bitcoin before you buy any. Buy some Bitcoin. This is my advice for, and maybe I'll clip this for the newer Bitcoiners out there. But here's your strategy. Take whatever you have, whether you have cash, money in a GIC savings account that you're not going to need for a couple of years. So if you have like a fund set up for a new roof or something, like don't do that. But any available funds that you have sitting around, just buy Bitcoin. One purchase, smash buy it all at once. Get as much as you can right now. And then protect it, or then start learning about it. Start watching videos, start looking at documents, maybe hire somebody to help you, start listening to podcasts, figure out how to protect that Bitcoin. Then set up a DCA strategy where you're buying X amount every month. But don't wait. Don't wait until you try to, I think that's the biggest mistake that a lot of people make. They're like, well, I don't really understand Bitcoin, so I'm just going to stay on the sidelines. Horrible idea. Buy it, have some skin in the game, learn how to protect it, buy more. Tommy D, good morning, my friend. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, we're going to start wrapping things up here. Bodhi said, Brian, Alan Greenspan, great thing about the sewage they spew is that people can be shown it and they can be viewed for who they really are. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different opinions on Alan Greenspan and how he, that's a whole rabbit hole in itself. But the last interview I saw with him, he's about 90 years old now, and he actually had a positive outlook for Bitcoin. So my path to fire says, is dunking on Peter Schiff okay, though? Absolutely. He deserves it because he's smart. He's a smart guy, and he knows that Bitcoin is going to outperform gold for the next 50 years. But his whole brand, his whole identity is built on gold. His whole company is built on gold. And the amount of people that he's misled, I think he's going to have some serious regrets later in his life because he knows he's not stupid. He's intentionally leading people. And I mean, yes, he's leading them to gold, so it's not all bad. Gold's better than fiat. Gold's better than the stock market probably, but still stupid. So to me, absolutely dunk on Peter Schiff. That there's a difference between no coiners and pre-coiners. So the pre-coiners are the people who don't really know what Bitcoin is. They're not really looking into it. They're going to own Bitcoin one day. They're pre-coiners. They're our friends because they're going to be here one day. The no coiners like Peter Schiff or Schiff, whatever the fuck his name is, he's a no coiner. Not only does he not own any, but he goes out of his way to try and tell people not to buy Bitcoin. They are the enemy. No coiners are the enemy. Pre-coiners are our friends, and we need to help them. Jay says he has everyone else's gold, can't lose. Yeah, show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome. That's exactly right. That's what Peter Schiff is. That's his whole brand's been built on that. He makes a ton of money. And again, one day he will look back and feel bad about it. But we won't. We won't. Okay, well, we're pushing 72K. Maybe we're going to hit an all-time high. Maybe we're not. But I need like fire to shoot out of this thing. That'll be when we hit an all-time high. All right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. Thanks for being here once again. Thanks for the zaps. Make sure on your way out, if you're still here, leave a little zap, leave a little like. We killed it in the like department today, so thank you for that. So I want you to have the best Tuesday of your life today. I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for participating in the comments. I don't even know. There's got to be a record amount of comments today. And for showing up every day, because that's what makes the show what it is. So Bitcoin did suck a lot of the capital out of the gold market, and it'll keep sucking it, and it'll pass gold, and it'll catch up to real estate. So many good things coming for us. The main thing we got to do, keep our head down, keep adding value, and keep our Bitcoins safe. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.